Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we're discussing a model line that launched in 2007. It was a breakthrough in design, but also the launch platform for Omega's modern family of 8500 series coaxial chronometer calibers. So this was an important piece. It is the Omega DeVille Hour Vision, and it proves that through the years, Omega has often used the DeVille line as a test bed for new technologies and styles. And you can see the watch is beautifully inflected with Art Deco details, a throwback to the first 4 decades of the 20th century. This is Ocean Line or Art Deco, which is the high version. We'll talk about that in a moment. The watch in steel is 41 millimeters in diameter. In terms of thickness, 12.5 millimeters. It's thinner than it looks. From lug tip to lug tip, 49.7 millimeters with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Now the watch does wear large. The timepiece is broad at almost 50 millimeters lug to lug, and on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, it's viable. I think you could wear this watch on maybe a 15 centimeter circumference wrist, but any smaller than that, you're probably going to start to run into fit issues, and here's one of the reasons why. The strap has a lot of fight and flare. You see how it arcs out? It doesn't pull straight down out of the lugs. That's because there is some encumbrance to the movement of the strap. It presses against the case flank and it won't budge any further. So that's just something to consider. That adds a little bit of virtual lug to lug. Now taking a quick look at the strap, it's a lovely piece. They certainly didn't cut any corners. Bolstered, massive, a large high quality cut of large rectangular scale alligator leather with very symmetrical scales, a very expensive cut. A bolstering to add volume as it approaches the lug swell. You can see that the flank of the strap has been folded. There's a monotone stitch on the top, calfskin on the bottom. It is a brand new Omega factory strap. We have a full deployant clasp, polished externally, twin trigger release. Press the triggers, both of them, and it opens. A lot of security here against accidental deployment. You tuck the buckle, and it's that simple. You tuck the strap underneath, crimp it in, and then there's no need for strap minder loops because all of the excess length is then channeled and hidden underneath the clasp and the strap itself for a very clean look. The case, Our Vision indeed. The idea being from any of the 4 corners of the case, between the lugs or side to side, you have sapphire windows that make that new 8500 series caliber visible. And this was sort of the beginning of sapphire in mainstream use as a case material, that is, as something more than a crystal over the front or back of the watch. The watch has lovely integrated arcing lugs that are satinated on their side and then polished on their top bevel and their hoods. We have a bezel that is vertical on its flank and then domed right up to the edge of a dramatically cambered sapphire. We have a push-down crown, but the watch is 100 meters water resistant, so on a different strap suitable for swimming. Now, I talked about Ocean Line or Art Deco. The Exposition des Arts Décoratifs came out in 1925, and in France, it was the initial unified statement of a new philosophy born of the machine age. It was clothing, it was furniture, it was art, it was architecture, it was a lot of things. And it didn't really gain full steam until the 1930s. But the Art Deco style, you'll see it in the Chrysler Building, the Empire State Building. You'll see it in old ocean liners like the Queen Mary and the Normandy. Those were the high watermarks of Art Deco. Art Deco on ocean liners was often Art Deco Baroque. It was the most extreme manifestation, using rectilinear forms and chrome and polished nickel and steel and glass. And that sort of high Art Deco or ocean liner Art Deco is what we find in this watch. First the case, but then the dial. You can see we have these lovely faceted, satinated and polished gem-like applique indices. And then you can see the same, the faceting in polish, contrasting with the top satination on the hands. The same for the aperture for the date. And then we have these lovely gadroons or strakes. Again, a lot like what you would find on Art Deco architecture or ocean liner decor, and they run underneath the indices. So there's a lot of machine age cool about this, and there is a little bit of a wink and a nod to the past, especially since you can see that there's a sunburst metallic that radiates out from the center. A couple of great features here. You can see we have this mobile hour hand that allows me to actually move my time zone forward and back without stopping the seconds hand, moving the minute hand, and then I can actually jump the date forward or backwards depending on which direction I'm traveling. Pull the crown out again. Now you have that stop seconds function. You stop the seconds hand, you can set the watch to a reference time. And if you want another reference for Art Deco, if you've ever read Superman comics and you've seen how Metropolis is portrayed, Metropolis is high Art Deco. Flip it all over and you can see that the movement actually, it's a little bit of a look back as we have arabesque spiral Côte de Genève across the bridges. This is the coaxial 8500. It is a very good looking movement. Now you can see automatic winding, twin mainspring barrels, a 60-hour power reserve. We've got a lovely free sprung balance. You can see that right there. A free sprung balance with a full balance bridge and ETA shock protection. My focus doesn't want to zoom in on it, but there it is. A full balance bridge with a free sprung balance made for very precise adjustment as well as shock tolerance. And of course, this 5-position adjusted watch is a COSC certified Swiss chronometer. Look underneath and you could just barely make out the coaxial escapement. Designed by British independent watchmaking master George Daniels, it is a sliding contact as opposed to what we have on a conventional Swiss lever, which is we have sliding on a conventional Swiss lever. This is properly described as tangential. That is really the difference. So instead of the hard slide you get on impulse and run to banking on a conventional Swiss lever with pallet stones, here we have both direct and indirect impulsing of the balance wheel, but the contact between impulsed and impulsing surface is always tangential. Think of a tangent to a circle, that sort of content, that sort of contact. Taking a quick look here, you can see that this movement is nicely decorated, and all of this is 100 meters water resistant, which is hard to believe but true. It pivots on 39 joules, and one of the advantages of the twin mainspring barrels is that you get a very even torque release. So after 18, 24, 36 hours, you don't have a huge drop off in balance amplitude with timing consequences that would follow. So this is a watch that runs very accurately. It is a watch that is very shock tolerant, very water resistant, and yet still ocean liner Art Deco. So this is very much a dress watch if you need that. A versatile timepiece and an underrated Omega model line. Check out the Omega de Ville Hour Vision. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.